Good morning. Welcome to JP's Morning Brief. This is James Pierce for what's today? April 20th, 2026. All right. Welcome everybody. Dude, I tell you what. It is really hard to put together the news this morning, but I got some together. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. It'll probably clear up more than that. Well, I did it again. Thought I had all my volumes down, but oh man, what in the world? Okay, it's all down now. It's weird hearing my voice on a delay because, regardless if they say it's live or not, I think it's more like an 8 to 10 second delay whenever you're putting something out. I don't know why, but that's about what it is. And all of a sudden, I heard myself talking to me. Um, okay, and then before we get started, I just heard about 30 minutes ago that there was a 7.4 earthquake in Japan offshore, and no anticipated impact into the United States with any tsunamis or anything. But just want to let everybody know. All right. Hey, thank you all for tuning in this morning for this morning brief. As we get started, click the follow button if you're not already a follower, please, and give us a like. Hit that thumbs up button, right, and then chat with us. I usually have a couple of hall monitors in here. I don't know where they're at this morning. We'll see. We'll see. I'm here. That's all that matters. All right. So, like I said, it's been a long morning so far. We'll see. America 250. Okay, this is for 19th of April, 1776, which was yesterday. And then this afternoon, when I do the JPA report, it'll be for the 20th of April, okay? So this is the letter from George Washington to John Hancock. Hold on just a second. All right. So I have this moment received a letter from General Schuyler containing enclosures of a very important nature, copies of which I imagine are contained in the enclosed letter to you, in which I thought in my duty immediately to forward by express, that they may be laid before the honorable Congress and proper measures pursued to prevent the fatal effects which are therein apprehended. For my own part, I have done the utmost to forward the 4 regiments ordered by Congress, but a variety of incidents have hereto conspired to prevent their embarkation. The men had scarcely recovered themselves from the fatigues of their march from Boston and are quite unprovided with necessities. The colonels of the regiments, though repeatedly called upon for that purpose, had neglected making out the abstracts for their pay. All obstacles, however, are now removed, and I hope to bring the embarkation this day. Indeed, it would have been my best opinion to have sent these regiments raised in the province and New Jersey upon that service, had not been for the particular circumstances under which they have been raised prevented it. By the terms of their enlistment, they are now to serve during the war and at $5 a month. Wow. On condition, as I am informed, that they shall not be sent out of these provinces. Besides, they are very ill provided with arms, some companies not having any. It must be a great burden upon the continent to keep such a number of useless men in pay. If and yet, if they should be dismissed and unexpected supply of arms should arrive, it may be found difficult to replace them. The officers of several corps that have arrived here have been so busily employed in fixing their men in quarters that I have not yet been able to procure an exact return of their numbers. Some are yet behind. As soon as the whole are collected, I shall order the proper returns and transmit them to Congress. You will please to notice that Colonel Hazen says the disposition of the Indians. In my opinion, it will be impossible to keep them in a state of neutrality. They must, and no doubt, soon will take an active part, either for or against us. And I submit it to the consideration of the Congress whether it would not it would not be best immediately to engage them on our side, and to use our most endeavors to prevent their minds from being poisoned by the ministerial emissaries, which will ever be the case while King's garrison is suffered to remain in their country. Would it not therefore be advisable to send a sufficient force from the back counties of Pennsylvania to take possession of the garrisons of Niagara and Detroit? This, I think, might easily be effected and would answer the most salutary purposes. The Seneca Indians, who have hitherto appeared friendly to us, might be usefully employed in this business. I am in hopes of the most difficulties mentioned in Colonel Hazen's letter to be obviated by the appearance of the most respectable committee of Congress in Canada and the forces that have been and will be sent there. The security of that country is the most important to us. This cannot be done effectually by conquest, as by taking stronghold by the affections and confidence of the inhabitants. It is to be lamented that by conduct of the continental troops should be tend to alienate their affections from us. The Honorable Congress will be able to judge from the papers sent them by General Schuyler and the information they may receive by the designs of the enemy, whether it is expedient to send a further reinforcement to Canada, if such should be their determination. I stand ready to execute their orders, and am, with respect, sir, your most obedient and humble servant, George Washington. And then he goes, enclosed is a return of the 4 regiments ordered to Canada, besides which there will be 2 rifle companies, a company of artificers, I think that is engineers, and 2 artillerymen, all under the command of Brigadier General Thompson. All right. April 19th, 1776. All righty, onward. We have the Iran update. Operation Epic Fury. This is day 13 of the ceasefire, which is barely a ceasefire at this point. The U.S. Navy fires on an Iranian vessel and seizes it. The USS Spruance fired on the engine room of a ship and blew a hole in the engine room, and they towed it to a port. The Iranian foreign minister said the U.S. shows ill will in diplomacy. Iran has threatened to, in retaliation over the seizure of said vessel. Gunfire strikes a French vessel, French-flagged vessel. And then there was a French soldier that was killed in an ambush from Hezbollah in Lebanon. It was 1 soldier killed, 9 soldiers wounded. All right, what Hezbollah is trying to do is drag France into the conflict itself. And then there was an Iranian woman arrested at LAX. She's accused of trying to purchase weaponry for Iran. And she got caught. And she's a green card holder living in Los Angeles County. This strikes me as, I won't get into my opinion right now. I'll probably do it this afternoon. Since the beginning of the campaign in Lebanon, 250 Hezbollah soldiers have been killed in action, And as of right now, the Vice President, Jared Kushner, and Steve Witkoff are supposed to be leaving for Pakistan. And what I was hearing on the TV right before I walked in there about 5 minutes ago was they're not even sure if the Iranians are even going to show up in Islamabad for these negotiations, or if Iran is just posturing before said negotiations. Because you look at it, it's like about an 18-hour plane flight from here to Pakistan, right? Well, if you know your geography, on the southern border of Pakistan, on the southwest side, borders Iran. So they barely just got to go through. They could even fly over Afghanistan probably, right? So a 2-hour flight versus an 18-hour flight. So they can make a decision at the last second to make this happen. So we shall see throughout the rest of the day, maybe before I come back on the air at noon Central or tomorrow morning. But we will find out. All right. Brent crude right now is trading at $95.67 a barrel. That's up $5.50 a barrel from Friday afternoon. Same thing with West Texas Intermediate. That's trading at 87.75 a barrel, which was at $81.40 a barrel Friday afternoon. And then the Dow Jones closed Friday evening at 49,447 and 0.43. It's up 868 points. All right. So that is the RAND update. Nobody chatted yet. Whoa, what's up with that? All right. So we'll go get a hold of the serious stuff right now. I've been learning, and I relaxed a little bit because I just wanted to detox this weekend as much as possible and start building the podcast up this last night. I am so longing for learning. It's unbelievable. I have to get back in the habit. These news agencies, I don't care if it's Fox, CNN, M Snow, or whatever, right? They do not actually keep the news up on their websites very long. They change them out so fast, right? So if I see a conservative news article I want to read, it disappears. I mean, it disappears, gone, right? So I got to get used to click, print, and then go, right? It's crazy, man. So the argument toward the end of the week was the Section 702, right? Section 702 of the U.S. Code is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, right? Is due to expire today. And they're like all up in arms because they can't come to an agreement about it. So they thought they had it, then they didn't have it. They thought they had it. Well, they finally did it on unanimous consent, which is if no one objects, it'll go through, and then the president signed it. Okay, so Section 702 is a controversial U.S. surveillance authority that lets the government, primarily the NSA, collect communications from non-U.S. persons located outside the United States for foreign intelligence purposes. This collection occurs without warrant, which is wrong, and often sweeps in American communication. That's why it's wrong. When they interact with targeted foreigners, known as incidental collection, still wrong. The program has faced criticism over privacy concerns, potential abuses, acquiring American data without warrants, and backdoor searches. I keep saying it's wrong because with the administration, the previous administration, asked them how many Republicans and U.S. citizens were swept up in these secret warrants that they were forbidden to even tell the person that they were even being searched, which is against the Fourth Amendment, right? Okay, I digress. Section 702 was previously reauthorized for 2 years in April 2024 via the Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act. It's called RISA, which was supposed to sunset today. And as the deadline approached, it said efforts for a longer, clean reauthorization, no major changes or extensions for 18 months to 5 years failed in the House due to opposition from some Republicans. Thank you, Lauren Boebert, please. And Democrats. Opponents push for reforms such as requiring warrants for acquiring American data, closing the data broker loopholes, and other protections. And on April 17th, the House passed a short-term 10 days that goes through the 30th of April by unanimous consent, and the Senate followed Friday morning with another one by unanimous consent. Then the president signed it, and it's extended through the 30th, right? This gives Congress 2 weeks to figure out which end is up. The which end is up to me is protecting the privacy of Americans by warrant. If you are going to do anything and there's a possibility of an American being swept up in these, you have to have a warrant. I don't care if it costs you 10 days worth of paperwork to process said warrant. It takes you 10 days. I really don't care. We are Americans. We have the Constitution and we have the Bill of Rights, plus 17 more amendments to go along with that. We are Americans. That document is there to protect us from the government. So I really don't care. You can get on that chat right now and spill your guts on why we should be able to scoop up data on Americans without a warrant, and I'm not going to believe you, not one iota, right? So they got some work to do. We pay them $176,000 a year to do this. Let them earn it. Let's keep them off of their work vacations, right? All right. So the exciting thing that came out this weekend, 6:40. I got to keep track of time so I don't run out here. I read through all that because, and I'm going to cover it again, but that's really important because that's our civil liberties as Americans in our country, all right? If you're proud to be an American, put an American flag in that chat, please, okay? And I'm going to start it out. There we go. All right. So Saturday morning, while most people were asleep, all of a sudden there was a surprise Oval Office executive order signing that was announced early Saturday morning, and they wouldn't tell nobody. And I meant to change over to CNN to see if CNN even covered the event. I'm sure they did, but sure enough, at 8 o'clock, President came on live on TV with a bunch of doctors behind him and combat veterans with them and started talking. So he was talking about psychedelic drugs like ibogaine, right? This stuff will mess you up if you don't do it right. Well, they have found drugs like ibogaine have cured PTSD. That's what it looks like. And they want to start using it on veterans and people in severe stress have PTSD. And like Rob O'Neill, he's the guy that killed Osama bin Laden. He should be the richest person in America for doing something like that. But I digress. He said he did either him or Marcus Luttrell did 3 iterations of the drug. I think it was Marcus Luttrell who said it, and he's totally cured. Right? We had guys up there that was talking. They said they were within a week of killing themselves before they got involved in these test trials, and are good to go now. I mean, you got 6,000 veterans that are killing themselves every year. We had to bend heaven and earth to be able to make something happen to protect my fellow veterans from killing themselves. 1 a day is too many. We're still between 17 and 22 a day. All right. So President Trump signed an executive order on Saturday that he said directs the FBI to expedite their review of certain psychedelics designated as breakthrough therapy drugs. These executive order I am signing, we're actually signing the executive order today, is really a moment. Trump said, these treatments are currently in the advanced stages of clinical trials to ensure that they're both safe and effective for the American patients. The president said the executive order would implement historic reforms to dramatically accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs. In many cases, these experimental treatments have shown life-changing potential for those suffering from mental illness and depression, including our cherished veterans. The president cited the veteran suicide rate. And like I said, upwards of 6,000 every year of military veterans are killing themselves needlessly. And this may be possible to counteract some of that, right? It was really good. He took questions about it. He was on the air for over an hour on Saturday morning, which is unbelievable. Sleepy Joe or the President Otto Penn, we wouldn't have seen him on a Saturday morning ever, unless it was an election event, right? Maybe, if you're lucky. But our president, President Donald J. Trump, took time out of his own weekend morning to go on the air and tell the American public about this. This is awesome. This is great stuff. Man, that is great. All right. So we'll talk about that later. Where is it? We'll go over this one real quick. Supreme Court has got a case they're going to hear on Wednesday. This is the last week of Supreme Court hearings before they start solidifying all their court cases and start making decisions, right? Because the decisions start up in May and go through June. All right. So the Supreme Court will begin its final oral argument sitting in the current term on Monday. This is the day. The justices will hear several high-profile arguments on various issues before the term ends in June. On Wednesday, the justices will hear arguments in Blanche versus Lau, a case to determine how immigrants are admitted into the United States. The case focuses on Muk Cho Lau, a Chinese national who became a lawful permanent resident in the United States in 2007. In 2012, Lau was convicted of trademark counterfeiting in New Jersey and fled the country. However, once Lau returned, immigration officers admitted him under parole, a status which allowed him to be brought into the United States but not to remain permanently. It's kind of a catch-all way of DHS can allow someone into the country. Okay, so before I go any further, he fled with a green card out of our country. You know what? The green card should have been terminated at that point because he was a fugitive fleeing justice. So I don't know why that does. But what I was reading in here was it was at the very end. Okay. This can make it significantly harder in the future to challenge uh, left wing administration attempts um, to open the borders and use parole again to let aliens, because there would be no way to review decisions in the court. It's so I don't get that. I read that wrong. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back over this tonight, this afternoon. That doesn't seem right. Okay, and then we're at 6:56. I'm gonna just momentarily tell you that that was the wrong article. Yep, there we go. The GOP in the House is going to seek to expunge the president's 2019 impeachment. Several Republicans, including the influential Chairman Jim Jordan, are throwing their weight behind the effort to repudiate or expunge the 2019 House impeachment vote against President Donald Trump. After years of belated bombshells eroded most of the scandalous narrative Democrats sold to Americans 7 years ago, the latest evidence to boomerang on the 2019 Democrat House impeachment managers came last week when Justin News successfully persuaded ODNI Tulsi Gabbard to release long secret memos showing the IC, or intelligence community, to raise red flags on about the credibility and political motives of the CIA analysis who prompted the scandal with the tale that Trump had wrongly pressured Ukraine's president to investigate the Biden family. So this is what I'm saying, is that the Democrats over and over and over again, all they want to do is prosecute President Trump. And they will lie, they will cheat, and they will steal to further the process along to destroy the entire reputation of our president, of the president of the United States. And he was wrongly impeached in 2019 on this. So what should happen is this needs to be reversed totally. All right. With that, and I was telling my wife last night before I took off and went to bed, I actually read these before I put them on. The fact is that he was impeached in 2019. I told her that the chances are him being defeated in 2020, even though there's a lot of apprehension about how that vote even happened, right? But it was you don't play like in sports, play for the win by 1 point win, right? You want to win by a long shot, right? They keep it from being tampered with, right? The president, I believe, if he would not have been impeached in 2019, would have won by a long shot, and we wouldn't have had to worry about all this other stuff. Well, you have to fix the election system as it is, no matter what. But like even tomorrow is election day in Virginia, where they're going to steal congressional seats from the Republicans by the stupid map that like 4 or 5 of the congressional seats are going to come out of Fairfax, Virginia. It's like a spider web coming out, right? But they will do whatever they can to withhold power from the Republicans, no matter what, and they will lie, cheat, and steal to do it. And they almost succeeded with President Trump, but he got reelected again in November 2024, which helps a whole lot. But they need to fix the legal system to help him out. He can't pardon himself. That's the thing, right? Only Congress can do that part with an impeachment. So hopefully they get that done. It's already 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna leave today until noon, and I'll come back at noon, and we'll go over more of this again, right? Hopefully we'll get more answers to what's going on in Iran with these negotiations. Hopefully we get some good news because the president means business, and and until they understand that this is our country and it's our future, the world's future, and all Iran is doing is holding it hostage. All right, too many of his Americans were almost wounded, and killed by Iranian munitions during the Iraq and Afghan wars, and we don't want this stuff to continue. All right, so I will see y'all at 12. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. So this is James Pierce with JP's Morning Brief. I will catch you on the flip side. I'm out until noon Central. All right.